free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
I think a new world order is emerging.
An inside job? How dare you? How dare you?
To create, so to say, mass-produced models of human beings arranged in some kind of a scientific caste system.
We shall go on to the end. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall never surrender.
Good day, everybody. This is UCY.tv. Oh, I'm trying to get my mic right. Hold on. There it goes. It's the 16th of August, 2014. I am your host, Wouter, coming to you from the Netherlands. It's 10 a.m. EST, 4 p.m. in the Netherlands, and it's time for the Solvinur Event. If you want to join on the radio, that's possible. If you have Skype, contact me at Solvinur, SOLVINUR, and I will get you on air. How you doing, guys? What's up? Welcome everybody in the chat. You can get there if you go to ucy.tv. Mouse over shows, click on any of the shows and you will see a chat room on the page. Dan, JJ, Vince and two Anons, welcome. So, today we're going to do more of the Mahabharata. I also have permission to read a PDF by Larkin Rose, so that may come sometime in the future. The Most Dangerous Superstition. I think it's a very well written piece about the fallacy of authority. Alright, one thing that I remember very well, and he's better at explaining it than me, but it's like the whole idea of government is like you vote for somebody, and then you think that the person that you vote for is going to make rules that you agree with. So the question then is, why would you need somebody else to tell you what you already wanted in the first place? You see how fallacious that is? So that's just one argument he came up with. There's many more. He has a nice story about an alien coming to Earth and having this discussion with a civilian there about how things are done on Earth, and he just totally breaks down this whole idea of authority. He does that very, very well. So that might come at some point also in the future, to take a break from the Mahabharata. Hey Joe, what's up, buddy? I was watching the Pigmine news, and there was a lot of this Ferguson stuff. I mean, like almost 30% of the videos there were about this shooting. I think that's a bit overdone. I watched like 60 or so. Too much emphasis on one person being shot. There was also a video from the Ukraine business, where you see a whole lot of Russian trucks that have been covered in white. They are military trucks, but they've been covered in white, and there were a lot of journalists being invited to come and see what was in these trucks. A lot of them were almost empty, but there were also a lot that had like water and potatoes and things like that, wheat, I believe. And so Russia is making a good impression. They said that these trucks were for the East Ukraine to bring to the people there. Meanwhile, the Ukraine is bombing their own people. So that's not good. And those were the two main topics on Pick My News. So, yeah, I didn't really like that. Especially not the too much emphasis on this Ferguson shooting. This turned out very bad. Still stuff going on there. It doesn't make sense. In one of the videos it was said that since I don't believe it's 1991. 1991 was the year in which laws were passed making it able for military equipment to go to the police. And I thought they said something like 34 billion worth of stuff has been going to the police since 9/11. They mentioned that specifically. You know, as if it was the American people that carried out 9/11. Can you believe that crap? Unbelievable, right? So that's not good. Police shouldn't be having military equipment. Alright. So that was what I gathered from the Pick My News. Check it out, pickmynews.com, I believe it is. And see what you can find there. All kinds of stuff available there. Like I said, if you want to join, that's okay. Contact me at Solvinur on Skype, SOLVINUR. You can also ask questions in the chat. I try to keep an eye on that while I read from Section 10, Paloma Parva, from the Mahabharata. Dan says the emphasis on this Missouri situation is only to take the minds off the gigantic failure that Obama is. Well, that depends on how you view it, Dan. You know, there's a lot of people that would say, not normal people, you know, not sheeple, you know, they would agree with you. But we don't take that stance here, you know. He has done a very good job destroying American values, alright? Stuff going on at the border. Can you believe this? That there is no appropriate reaction to a country being invaded like that at the southern border? Joe also says, gigantic failure of government in general. Why do you people take that stance? I don't get it. You know, they are doing exactly what they are supposed to do. You only say it's a gigantic failure if you expect your government to do something good. Excuse me, do you really expect that? They are destroying your country. That's what they're there for. This whole authority stuff is freaking me out more and more. You didn't really expect them to do a good job now, did you, Joe? I hope not. I think not. You know. Anyway. Let's pick this up. This is a very short section. It's about snakes. And Sautu said, and Ruru, on hearing those words, replied, you remember, this is the last week, his wife coming back to life. My wife, dear to me as life, was bit by a snake, upon which I took, O snake, a dreadful vow, that I would kill every snake that I might come across. Therefore shall I smite thee, and thou shalt be deprived of life. And the Duba, that's the snake, replied, O Brahmana, the snakes that bit man are quite different in type. It behoveth thee not to slay Buddhas, who are serpents only in name. Subject like other serpents on to the same calamities, but not sharing their good fortune. In woe the same, but enjoy different. The Dumbadas should not be slain by thee under any misconception. Sauti continued, and the Rishi Ruru, hearing these words of the serpent, and seeing that it was bewildered with fear, albeit the snake of the Dun Buddha species, killed it not. And Ruru, the possessor of 6 attributes, comforting the snake, addressing it, saying, Tell me fully, O snake, who art thou thus metamorphosed? And the snake said, O Ruru, I was formerly a rishi by name Sahasrapat, and it is by the curse of a Brahmana that I have been transformed into a snake. And Ruru asked, O best of the snakes, for what was thou cursed by a Brahmana, and how long will the curse last? And so ends the 10th section. So next section is 11. Sauti continued. The Dumbara then said, In former times I had a friend, Kagana by name. He was impetuous. I don't know that word. Impetuous. Impetuous. I don't know what that is. In his speech, and possessed of spiritual power by virtue of his austerities. Yeah, his austerities. That's what they say. That's what they will tell you in spiritual circles. Quote unquote spiritual circles. That you need to lessen the input that you get, like eating and sense gratification and all that. Do penance and all that. That's supposed to get you forward on the spiritual path. Well, it just looks like control to me. And one day when he was engaged in the Agnihotra, that's a fire sacrifice, I made a mock snake of blade and grass, and in a frolic attempted to frighten him with it. And anon he fell into and anon, what the heck is that? He fell into a swoon. On recovering his senses, that truth-telling and vow-observing ascetic, burned by wrath, exclaimed, "Since thou hast made a powerful mock snake to frighten me, thou shalt be turned into a venomous serpent thyself by my curse. O ascetic, I will knew the power of his penances." Not I will. I well knew the power of his penances. Therefore, with an agitated heart, I addressed him thus, bending low with joined hands. "Friend, I did this by way of a joke, to excite thy laughter. It behoveth thee to forgive me and revoke thy curse." And seeing me so sorely troubled, the ascetic was moved, and he replied, breathing hot and hard, "What I have said must come to pass. Listen to what I say and lay it to thy heart. O pious one, when Ruru, the pure son of Pranmati, will appear, thou shalt be delivered from the curse by the moment thou seest him. Thou art the very Ruru and the son of Pranmati. On regaining my native form, I will tell thee something for thy good." Anon says, acting or done quickly and without thought or care, impetus. Alright, thank you, Anon. Awesome. And that illustrious man, the best of Brahmanas, that left his snake body and attained his own form in original brightness, he then addressed the following words to Ruru of incomparable power. O thou first of creatured beings, not creatured. O thou first of created beings, that's Brahma. Verily the highest virtue of man is sparing the life of others. Therefore a Brahmana should never take the life of any creature. A Brahmana should ever be mild. Right, that's odd, right? Because when you hear what the supposed tasks of these priests are, they are supposed to lead the sacrifices. And they also sacrifice animals there. So, you know how they get around this? This is so sneaky. They say, well, we sacrificed this horse, but the soul of the horse will now get a human life form in his next incarnation. You know, that's how they get around that. That's how they say, well, the Brahmana didn't actually kill. He managed to increase the level of evolution in this horse. You see how sneaky that is? This is the most sacred injunction of the Vedas. A Brahmana should be versed in the Vedas and Vedangas, and should inspire all creatures with belief in God. All creatures? How do you inspire a cat with belief in God? He should be benevolent to all creatures, truthful and forgiving, even as it is his paramount duty to retain the Vedas in his memory. The duties of the Kshatriya are not thine. Right? Kshatriya is a warrior. To be stern, to wield the scepter, and to rule the subjects properly are the duties of the Kshatriya. See? So Kshatriyas become kings, you see? Appointed by the Brahmanas to wield the scepter and rule the subjects properly. Like we can't do that ourselves. That's the whole idea behind it. Listen, O Ruru, to the account of the destruction of snakes at the sacrifice of Janamajaya in days of yore, and the deliverance of the terrified reptiles by the best of Dvayas, Ashtika, profound in Vedic lore, and might in spiritual energy. And that ends section 11. Moving on to section 12. Also a very short one. Sauti continued. Ruru then asked, O best of the Dvayas, why was King Janamajaya bent upon destroying the serpents? And why and how were they saved by the wise Astika? I'm anxious to hear all this in detail. The Rishi replied, O Ruru, the important history of Astika you will learn from the lips of Brahmanas. Saying this, he vanished. Sauti continued. Ruru ran about in search of the missing Rishi, and having failed to find him in all the woods, fell down on the ground fatigued. And revolving in his mind the words of the Rishi, he was greatly confounded and seemed to be deprived of his senses. Regaining consciousness, he came home and asked his father to relate the history in question. Thus asked, his father related all about the story. And that's 12. Now on to 13. Sanauka said, for what reason did that tiger among kings, the royal Janamejaya, determined to take the lives of the snakes by means of a sacrifice? O Sauti, tell us in full the story. Tell us also why Ashtika, the best of renegade ones, that foremost of ascetics, rescued the snakes from blazing fire, whose son was that monarch who celebrated the snake sacrifice, and whose son also was that best of renegade ones. Yeah. Moving on to the chat, guys, for a little. Anon asks, what language is universal, comma, nature? And then says math. And Anon answers his own answers his own question. Number, rather. And yeah, that's from the quadrivium, right? Math, geometry, music and astronomy. Math being number in itself. Geometry, number in space. Music, number in time. Astronomy, number in time and space. So yeah, it was Descartes, I believe, who in 1922 or 1919, if I remember correct. No, that was longer ago. When was this? 1719 or something like that. Let's look it up, guys. This is a nice story. It's Descartes. Let's see. Descartes and then angel. Yeah. Here, it's even in the Wikipedia. So Descartes, and when was this? Is the question. I don't know what year this was, guys. This is not what I'm looking for. Alright, let's see. Descartes' birth. He was born in La Haye. Let's see. Philosopher and mathematician René Descartes is regarded as the father of modern philosophy for defining a starting point for existence. I think, therefore I am. Yeah, that's... I don't agree with that, but... he was born in 1596, alright? So in 1622 or 1619, he was part of an army that was laying siege on, I believe it was Athens, I'm not quite sure anymore, names escape me. But at some point he had a dream, and in this dream an angel came to him and said, the conquer of nature will be done via number and measure. Right? That's what this chat reminds me of. And he is actually the one that gave science a basis to start from. Number and measure. So you see, even science today is based on mystical experience. Yeah. Then there's somebody in the chat that says humans are animals. Yeah. Well, do you have a definition of both? Define human and then define animal? Right? Supposedly humans distinguish themselves from animals because they have ratio. Right? And somebody else made this claim, and I found this debunked by a bird himself, that humans are the ones that are making plans, right? How about this then? It was also in a video from Pigmine, I believe, that there was these birds and they want to eat these nuts, but these nuts are very hard to crack. So what they do is they drop them on the highway or on the street and then let the cars run over them and then, you know, go to what's left of it and eat it. How about this though? They found out that, you know, it's kind of dangerous with these cars running over their food. You know, how do you get the food without being run over, right? Was wrong about what, Mies? It's a question. You can say Descartes was wrong. Well, what argument are you talking about that he brought forth that you disagree with? You know, just saying Descartes was wrong, you know, that's a bit too broad of a statement. But you know what these birds did? They started dropping them on zebra paths and waited for the light to go green so they could safely get at their food. Now, if that's not planning, I don't know what is. All about Descartes in the chat. Yeah. So, yeah. Are humans animals? Well, I guess it depends on your definitions, right? You know, I've used, in the first couple of minutes, I used the word sheeple. You know. What's the difference between a man and an animal if you refuse to use your intelligence? Montaigne. Thank you, Joe. It was at the Battle of White Montaigne, November 8, 1620. See? That's where he was, Descartes. And that's where he got that dream. And Mies, what's his name? Emrys? Yeah, Emrys. Says, humans are generated from sexual union as are all animals. Yeah, You can make comparisons, making two things look like the same, but that's not all, right? Animals aren't humans, but human are animal. Well, that sounds like a contradiction. You're saying S is no P, but P are S. See, that's a contradiction, Emrys. See? Animals is S, humans is P, and you're saying S is not P, but P is S. That doesn't make sense. That's not logic. And then he says one is a set and another is a subset. Oh, what am I supposed to do with that? Alright, you should try to make non-contradictionary statements there. Not a contradiction, he says. Well, it looks like a contradiction to me. Well, you'll learn about sets and subsets. Yeah, there's something like you can make such a statement if you use the word some, right? All S are P, some P are R, or some P are Q. Right? All S are P and some P are Q. Can you say something about S then? That's with sets and subsets, right? I mean, I'm not very well versed in this whole bit, but yeah, come on air and explain. That would be a good one, right? So if you want to come on air, that's possible. And, talk a little logic. And subs and subsets. Sets and subsets. You can do that if you contact me at Skype. Solvinur. Solvinur. There's only one Solvinur on Skype. So you won't mismatch. Send me a contact request. I will add you to the conversation and you can explain sets and subsets and how animals are not human, but human are animals. It just doesn't seem right to me. Yeah. And what I said, you need a definition of both to be able to look at that statement. Animal comes from the word animated, right? Animus. Motion comes to mind, right? A qualitative statement. That's what it looks like to me also, Emrys. Humans is a qualitative statement, right? I don't know what solution is in your statement. Yeah. If you're animated, you're an animal, he says. Yeah. Alright, so let's get this out of the way first then, You say like humans are animals, right? But you're also using the word animated, and that's a bad word for life. I don't like to use the word animated. It sounds like an animation movie, like Walt Disney, But if you see a cat move across a space where there's windows, where there's mirrors, the cat doesn't recognize himself. There's only a few animals that actually have this ability. I believe some parrots do. Dolphins, I believe, also. What the heck is that, guys? Set theory. Dan, what is that? Why don't you guys call in and talk about it? It's much better than chatting. much better than typing in a chat. It's an interesting topic. Animated is lebhaft. What the heck is lebhaft? Leb is leven, that's life. And haft? What the heck is haft? Is that like ness? Liveness or what? What is that, Dan? But yeah, the whole thing about humans is that they can recognize themselves, right? That's what the claim is anyway. You put a human in front of a mirror, and the human recognizes that he's looking at himself. The word here is self. What you see in the mirror is a body. Alright, in Dutch, haft is have. To have life, animated is to have life. Life have, yeah, right. Whoa. How is that so? Alright. So, but a human recognizes himself in the mirror because he sees a body there. The word body ties to the word corpse. You know, and a corpse doesn't live. Why do I say that it ties to corpse? Because in Dutch, and maybe Dan can give me the German word. I don't even know the German word for it. But in Dutch we say lichaam. Right? I'll type that in the chat. So we can talk about this word for a bit. Alright, then you will see how I get to the fact that body is corpse. And why we are what do you call it? Misidentifying ourselves with the body. Alright, so we have the word lichaam, which is made of two words. It's lich and haam. Lich is another word for lijk, which means corpse. And haam ties to the word haag, which means that which surrounds you. Alright, so you are surrounded by a corpse. That's what it is. You are not your body. You are the life force that is animating this body. Alright? So when you say humans are animals, you know, first of all you should solve this identification problem. Corper, see? Very good, Dan. Corper. Do you hear the word corpse in there? You see? In German it's even more clear that your body is a corpse. It's Körper in Dutch, in German. There's an etymological tie there to the word corpse. So, don't misidentify yourself with your body, you know? And none of you dare to call in, right? Come on, you vussies. Call in. There's another word, JJ says, conscious. That's a nice word. You know, consciousness doesn't come from some chemicals put together and then blitz upon it and poof, you have consciousness. No. I must agree, unfortunately, I say, I must agree with the Eastern philosophy that is out there about this. Consciousness comes from you, the living being, or the life force. I probably should use the word life force. That's better. They say living being in Eastern philosophy. I rather use the word life force. What the heck is that? Is that about sub and subset or what? I don't know what that is. I don't understand that, Anon. 1 plus 2 equals 3. If quality and quantity 1 is not the same as the quality and quantity 2, we can add 1 to the 2 and 3 are 3 that are the same. What? The same as 3 that are different? You know, I don't understand one word of that. Not one word. I really don't. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's another thing that happens a lot, JJ. You know, it seems like semantics here, right? That's why before, you know, starting out on any discussion like this, you should define your terms. You will find that you probably won't be able to even agree on the definition of terms. So, you know, what the heck are you talking about in the first place? Yeah. So, nobody calling in, right? Wussies. Alright. Where were we? Snake sacrifices. It's a good topic, Dan. Difference between man or human and animals. You know, I think, and this is just my opinion though, that the life force within a crocodile or a cat or a human is the same. That's what I think. The life force is the same, except that the outer shell is different. So, alright, let's pick this up. Where were we? We've got 15 minutes left till the break. We'll play some music. Janamajaya, the royal king, for what reason did that tiger among kings, the royal Janamajaya, determine to take the life of the snake by means of a sacrifice? O Sauti, tell us in full the true story. Tell us also why Astika, the best of regenerate ones, that foremost of ascetics, rescued the snake from the blazing fire, whose son was that monarch who celebrated the snake sacrifice, and whose son also was the best of renegade ones. Sauti said, O best of the speakers, the story of Astika is long. I will duly relate it in full. So Nauka said, I am desirous of hearing at length the charming story of that rishi, that illustrious Brahmana named Astika. And Sauti continues, this history, first recited by Krishna Dvaipayana, is called a Purana by the Brahmanas. It was formerly narrated by my wise father, Lomaharshana, right, the disciple of Vyasa, before the dwellers of the Naimisha forest at their request. I was present at the recital. This is when the Srimad Bhagavatam was told. And, O Sanauka, since thou asked me, I shall narrate the history of Astika exactly as I heard it. So listen as I recite in full that sin-destroying story. The father of Astika was powerful like Prajapati. He was a brahmacharin, always engaged in austere devotions. He ate sparingly, was a great ascetic, and had his lust under complete control. And he was known by the name of Jaratkaru, that foremost among the Yajavaras, virtuous and of rigid vows, highly blessed and endued with great ascetic power, once undertook a journey over the world. He visited diverse places, bathed in diverse sacred waters, and rested where night overtook him. Endued with great energy, he practiced religious austerities, hard to practice by men of unrestrained souls. The sage lived upon air only, and renounced sleep forever. Thus going about like a blazing fire, one day he happened to see his ancestors, hanging heads down in a great hall, their feet pointing upward. On seeing them, Jaratkaru addressed them, saying, who are you, thus hanging heads down in this hall by a rope of Virana fibers that is again secretly eaten into on all sides by a rat living here? The ancestor said, we are rishis of rigid vows called Jayavaras. We are sinking low into the earth for want of offspring. We have a son named Jaratkuru. Woe to us! That wretch hath entered upon a life of austerities only. The fool does not think of raising offspring by marriage. It is for that reason, the fear of extinction of our race, that we are suspended in this hole. Possessed of means, we fare like unfortunates that have none. O excellent one, who art thou that thus sorrowest as a friend on our account? We desire to learn, O Brahmana, who thou art that standest by us, and why, O best of men, thou sorrowest for us that are so unfortunate. Jaratkuru said, ye are even my sires and grandsires. I am that Jaratkaru. O tell me, how may I serve you? The fathers then answered, try thy best, O child, to beget a son to extend our line. Thou wilt then, O excellent one, have done a meritorious art for both thyself and us, not by the fruits of virtue, not by ascetic penances, well hoarded up, acquireth the merit which one does by becoming a father. Therefore, O child, by our command, set thy heart upon marriage and offspring. Even this is our highest good. Jaratkaru replied, I shall not marry for my sake, nor shall I earn wealth for enjoyment, but I shall do so for your welfare only. According to this understanding, I shall, agreeably to the sastric ordinance, take a wife for attaining the end. I shall not act otherwise. If a bride may be had on the same name with me, whose friend would, besides, willingly give her to me as a gift in charity. Unbelievable, right? Talking about women like that. To be given away. Unbelievable. I shall wed her duly, but who will give his daughter to a poor man like me for wife? I shall, however, accept any daughter given to me as alms. I shall endeavor, ye sires, even thus to wed a girl. Having given my word, I will not act otherwise. Upon her I will raise offspring for your redemption, so that ye fathers ye may attain to eternal regions of bliss and may rejoice as ye like. Thus ends the 13th section. Next. Another short one. Sauti said, the Brahmana of rigid vows then wandered over the earth for a wife, but a wife found he not. One day he went into the forest, and recollecting the words of his ancestors, he thrice prayed in a faint voice for a bride. Thereupon Vasuki rose and offered his sister for the Rishi's acceptance. But the Brahmana hesitated to accept her, thinking her not to be of the same name with himself. What the heck is that? Not being of the same name. The high-souled Jaratkaru thought within himself, I will take none for a wife who is not of the same name with myself. What the heck is that? Then that Rishi of great wisdom and austere penances asked him, saying, tell me truly, what is the name of this thy sister, O snake? O snake? Vasuki replied, O Jaratkaru, this my younger sister is called Jaratkaru, given away by me, accept this slender-waisted damsel for thy spouse. O best of Brahmanas, for thee I reserved her, therefore take her. Saying this, he offered his beautiful sister to Jaratkaru, who then espoused her with ordained rites. That was section 14, on to 15. Next, Sauti said, O foremost of persons acquainted with Brahma, the mother of the snakes had cursed them of old, saying, he that has the wind for his charioteer shall burn you all in Janamajaya's sacrifice. It was to neutralize that curse that the chief of the snakes married his sister to that high-souled Rishi of excellent vows. The Rishi wedded her according to the rites ordained in the scriptures, and from them was born a high-souled son called Ashtika, an illustrious ascetic versed in the Vedas and their branches. He regarded all with an even eye and removed the fears of both his parents. Right? He says here, he regarded all with an even eye. How does he do that? He does not fall in the trap of misidentification. He sees, like I told you, that the life force in any living being is the same. That's how you regard all with an even eye. Then, after a long space of time, a king descending from the Pandava line celebrated the great sacrifice known as the snake sacrifice. After that sacrifice had commenced, for the destruction of the snakes, Astika delivered the Nagas, those are the snakes. His brothers and maternal uncles and other snakes from a fiery death. And he delivered his fathers also by begetting offspring, and by his austerities, O Brahmana, and various vows and studies of the Veda, he freed himself from all his debts. Yeah, there's talk in the Vedas about depths. When you were born, right? Today, when you're born, the debt talked about is more or less a financial debt. But here they're talking about a debt to Brahma. And one of the debts, you got 4. One of the debts is make offspring. So, if you have children, you have paid that debt. By sacrifices at which various kinds of offspring were made, he propitiated the gods. By practicing the brahmacharya mode of life, he conciliated the rishis. And by begetting offspring, he gratified his ancestors. Thus Jaratkaru of rigid vows discharged the heavy debt he owed to his sires, who, being thus relieved from bondage, ascended to heaven. Strange, right? Thus having acquired great religious merit, Jaratkaru, after a long course of years, went to heaven, leaving Astika behind. There is the story of Astika that I have related duly now. Tell me, O tiger of Birigu's race, what else I shall narrate. Next section. Let's see. Sanoka said, O Sati, relate once more in detail this history of the learned and virtuous Astika. Our curiosity for hearing it is great. O amiable one, thou speakest sweetly, with proper accent and emphasis, and we are well pleased with thy speech. Thou speakest even as thy father. Thy sire was ever ready to please us. Tell us now the story of thy father, as thy father had related it. Sauti said, O thou that art blessed with longevity, I shall narrate the history of Astika as I heard it from my father. O Brahmana, in the golden age, that's the first age of Kalpa, Prajapati had 2 daughters, O sinless one. The sisters were endowed with wonderful beauty, named Kadru and Vinata. They became the wives of Kasyapa. Kasyapa derived great pleasure from his 2 wedded wives, and being gratified, he, resembling Prajapati himself, offered to give each of them a boon. Hearing that their lord was willing to confer on them their choice blessings, those excellent ladies felt transports of joy. Kadru wished to have for F-O-R, not 4 as a number. Kadru wished to have 4 sons of 1,000 snakes and all equal splendor, and Vinata wished to bring forth 2 sons surpassing the 1,000 offsprings of Kadru in strength, energy, size of body, and prowess. Unto Kadru her lord gave that boon of a multitude of offspring, and unto Vinata also. Kasyapa said, Be it so. Then Vinata, having obtained her prayer, rejoiced greatly, obtaining 2 sons of superior prowess. She regarded her boon fulfilled. Kadru also obtained her 1,000 sons of equal splendor. Bear the embryos carefully, said Kasyapa, and thus he went into the forest, leaving his 2 wives pleased with his blessings. 1,000 ones, right? It's a bit much, isn't it? Sauti continued, O best of the renegade ones, after a long time... No, hold on, it's almost top of the hour, so we'll pick this up after the break, which we're going to do now. We're going to play a little bit of music, guys. This is Poker Face.
Thank you very much. If you dig what you're hearing, check us out, www.pokerface.com. We're on Facebook. We're on MySpace. Does anybody use MySpace anymore? Nobody? Okay. Guess I'm one of the last remaining few. That's why I don't get too many messages, apparently.
Down deep below, living off ground while they're making the slime. Someday they will be unleashed. And I saw the lights in the skies. What was that? Was it not before? Something left the night sky back in the day. You know what let it be? I see that look in your eyes. What a disbelief. Nothing that I see is getting through to you. You see it on your TV, then it's like the God that lives over you. Just living a dream. Across our Milky Way, talking on the side. If you want. Now that I have your attention, please be kind, listen to me just for a minute now. Yours and those that are differences inside my brain, over and upright in the same can. Cause we're living a day, across our Milky Way. You guys are too kind, man. Thank you.
Alright guys, welcome back. This is the second hour of the Solvinur Event on UCY.tv. Welcome in the chat, Del, Dan, JJ, Joe, Vince, Emrys, Deep Blue, and 3 Anons. If you have any questions, please type them in capital letters, so I can notice it more easily in the chat. You can also contact me on Skype to get on air, SOLVINUR, Solvinur, and we'll get you on the air. You can talk about anything you like, doesn't have to be on topic. So there you go. Let's pick this up from where we left off. Sauti continued. Oh, best of the renegade ones. After a long time, Kadru brought forth 1,000 eggs. And Vinata too. Their maid servants deposited the eggs separately in warm vessels. What does this sound like to you, guys? What does this sound like to you? 500 years passed away, and the 1,000 eggs produced by Kadru burst out and became the progeny. But the twins of Vinata did not appear. Vinata was jealous, and therefore she broke one of the eggs and found in it an embryo with the upper part developed but the lower one undeveloped. At this the child in the egg became angry and cursed his mother, saying, "Since thou hast prematurely broken this egg, thou shalt serve as a slave." Ah, interesting. Shouldst thou wait 500 years and not destroy or render the other half egg developed by breaking it through impatience, then the illustrious child within it will deliver thee from slavery. You see, they're talking about 500 years passing away, right? You know, nowadays we only live like about 100 years maximum, somewhere around there, right? According to Indian mythology, not so in the first yuga of this kalpa. Right? The kalpa is a time period. A yuga is a time period within that time period. There's 4 of them in each kalpa. And in the first kalpa, humans lived very, very, very long. In the second kalpa, they live a little less long. In the third kalpa, they live less long. I believe the third kalpa is 1,000 years. And in this kalpa, in this yuga, I mean, I should have said yugas instead of kalpa there. You know, we're down to 100. Alright, but that's the story according to the Indian mythology anyway. That in previous times, humans lived very much longer. You get the same story in the Bible, don't you? That's a bit strange, isn't it? Is there really something about humans living longer? Or is it possibly that time is speeding up? Could it be that? Where were we, guys? Here we are. And if thou wouldst have the child strong, thou must take tender care of the egg for all this time. Thus, cursing his mother, the child rose to the sky. O Brahmana, even he is the charioteer of Surya, always seen in the hour of morning. Oh, Surya is the sun god. You know, seen in the hour of morning. The morning star, which is the sun. It's not a planet. They don't call it morning planet. They call it morning star. There's only one morning star, and that's the sun. Then at the expiration of the 500 years, bursting open the other egg, out came Garuda. Ah, interesting. The serpent eater. Garuda is not only what nowadays is the Indian Airlines, you know, it's a big bird, but he's also the carrier of God. You know, God is riding on this bird. He's mounted on this bird. O tiger of Brigu's race, immediately on seeing the light, the son of Vinata left his mother, and the lord of birds, feeling hungry, took wing in quest of the food assigned to him by the great ordainer of all. Yeah, in this case that would be probably Brahma, but it's capital G, capital O. So maybe it's Vishnu, I don't know. That ends that section. On to 17. Sauti said, "O ascetic, about this time the two sisters saw approaching near that steed of complacent appearance named what? Uchai-Sravas, who was worshipped by the gods, that gem of steeds, who arose at the churning of the ocean for nectar, divine, graceful, perpetually young, creation's masterpiece, and of irresistible vigor. It was blessed with every spacious mark." Sanauka asked, "Why did the gods churn the ocean for nectar? And under what circumstances? And when, as you say, did that best of steeds, so powerful and resplendent, spring?" Sauti said, "There is a mountain named Meru, of blazing appearance, and looking like a heap of effulgence. The rays of the sun falling on its peaks of golden luster are dispersed by them. Decked with gold and exceedingly beautiful, that mountain is the haunt of the gods and Gandharvas." Yeah. The only thing I get from this is that in mountainous areas you are more likely to find minerals or precious stones. It is immeasurable and unapproachable by men of manifold sins. Dreadful beasts of prey wander over its breasts, and it is illuminated by many divine life-giving herbs. Yeah, that's another strange thing, right? At least to me, that is one that those are clues as to what's going on here, and as seen as a whole, what's going on this earth, and including the universe in that also. These herbs, these plants, there's thousands of them that have a positive effect on other living beings, not only humans. There's also apes, for instance, that know exactly which herbs to eat when they feel sick, or when they've eaten something poisonous to dispel the poison. They know which plants to eat. That's a clue as to why this all is. It stands kissing the heavens by its height and is the first of mountains. Yeah, that's Mount Meru. It's a very much talked about in Indian mythology. Ordinary people cannot even think of ascending it. It is graced with trees and streams, and resounds with the charming melody of winged stars. Once the celestials sat on its begemmed peak in conclave. They who had practiced penance and observed excellent vows for Amrita now seem to be eager seekers altar Amrita, celestial ambrosia. Seeing the celestial assembly in anxious mood, Narayana said to Brahman, "Do thou churn the ocean with the gods and the asuras. By doing so, Amrita will be obtained, as also all drugs and gems. O ye gods, churn the ocean. You will discover Amrita." Next section. Sauti said, "There is a mountain called Mandara, adorned with cloud-like peaks. It is the best of mountains, and covered all over with intertwining herbs. There countless birds pour forth their melodies, and beasts of prey roam about. The gods, the Apsaras and Chimaras visit the place. Upwards it rises 11,000 yojanas. 11,000 yojanas. I believe 1 yojana is 7 yards or something like that. And this descend downwards as much, or could be 14, yeah, I believe 14 yards. Something like 14 yards to 1 yojana. So that's a high mountain, right? They're probably not talking about some mountain on Earth. By the way, the whole strange story about how mountains came to be on the Earth in the first place. According to Indian mythology, the mountains fell down from the sky, making the mountain ranges. What? The gods wanted to tear it up and use it as a churning rod, but failing to do so, same to Vishnu and Brahma, who were sitting together, and said unto them, devise some efficient scheme, consider ye gods, how Mandara may be dislodged for our good. Sauti continued, O son of Brigu, Vishnu with Brahman ascended to it, and the lotus-eyed one, that's Vishnu, laid the hard task on the mighty Ananta, the prince of snakes. The powerful Ananta, directed thereto both by Brahman and Narayana, O Brahmana, tore up the mountain with the woods thereon, and with the denizens of those woods. And the gods came to the shore of the ocean with Ananta, and addressed the ocean, saying, O ocean, we have come to churn thy waters for obtaining nectar. And the ocean replied, be it so, as I shall not go without a share of it. I am able to bear the prodigious agitation of my waters set up by the mountain. The gods then went to the king of tortoises and said to him, O tortoise king, thou wilt have to hold the mountain on thy back. The tortoise king agreed, and Indra contrived to place the mountain on the former's back. You ever heard that story before, guys? The tortoise carrying a mountain? I have. Even in games, this comes back. You see, that's where they get their stories from. And the gods and the Asuras made of Mandara a churning staff, and Vasuku the cord, and set about churning the deep for Amrita. The Asuris held Vasuki by the hood, and the gods held him by the tail. And Ananta, who was on the side of the gods, at intervals raised the snake's hood and suddenly lowered it. And in the consequence of the stretched Vasuki, received at the hands of the gods and the Asuras black vapors with flames issued from his mouths. These turned into clouds charged with lightning, poured showers that refreshed the tired gods, and flowers that also fell on all sides of the celestials from the trees on the whirling Mandara, refreshed them. Then, O Brahmana, out of the deep came a tremendous roar, like unto the roar of the clouds at the universal dissolution. Diverse aquatic animals, being crushed by the great mountain, gave up the ghost in the salt waters, and many denizens of the lower regions and the world of Varuna were killed. Large trees with birds on the whirling Mandara were torn up by the roots and fell into the water. The mutual friction of these trees also produced fires that blazed up frequently. The mountain thus looked like a mass of dark clouds charged with lightning. O Brahmana, the fire spread and consumed the lions, elephants, and other creatures that were on the mountain. Then Indra extinguished that fire by pouring down heavy showers. After the churning, O Brahmana, had gone on for some time, gummy exudations of various trees and herbs vested with the properties of Amrita mingled with the waters of the ocean, and the celestials attained the immortality by drinking of the water mixed with those gums and with the liquid extract of gold. Yeah, so where are they now? This doesn't seem like this is happening on Earth, guys. Just saying, I don't know if it is or is not. But by degrees, the milky water of the agitated deep turned into clarified butter by virtue of those gums and juices, but nectar did not appear even then. The god came before the boon-granting Brahman seated on his seat and said, "Sire, we are spent up, we have no strength left to churn further. Nectar has not yet arisen, so that now we have no resource save Narayana." On hearing them, Brahma said to Narayana, "O Lord, condescend to grant the gods strength to churn the deep afresh." Then Narayana, agreeing to grant their various prayers, said, "Ye wise ones, I grant you sufficient strength. Go, put the mountain in position again and churn the water." Re-established thus in strength, the gods recommenced churning. After a while, the mild moon of 1,000 rays emerged from the ocean. Wow. Huh. Thereafter sprang forth Lakshmi, dressed in white, then Soma, then the white steed, and then the celestial gem Kaustuba, which graces the breast of Narayana. Then Lakshmi, Soma, and the steed, fleet as the mind, all came before the gods on high. By the way, Lakshmi, if you look her up in pictures, Lakshmi, you will find there's a lot of coins surrounding her. Right? She's a goddess of wealth. It's probably where you get the word luck from, Lakshmi. Then arose the divine Dhanvatari himself with the white vessel of nectar in his hand, and seeing him, the Asuras set up a loud cry, saying, "It be ours!" And at length rose the great elephant, Airavata, of huge body and with 2 pairs of white tusks, and him took Indra, the wielder of thunderbolt. Sound familiar? Story? Wielder of thunderbolt? You get that in Norse mythology, for instance. Probably also in Greek, but I don't know Greek mythology that well. But with the churning still going on, the poison, Kalakuta, appeared at last. The poison. Engulfing the earth, it suddenly blazed up like a fire attended with fumes. Well, supposedly this is happening on Earth. And Earth here is, by the way, spelled with a capital E. Strange. And by the scent of the fearful Kalakuta, the three worlds were stupefied. Here's again the three worlds. Somebody said it is past, present, and future. I don't see that. I don't see how that is happening. And then Shiva, being solicited by Brahman, swallowed that poison for the safety of the creation. Alright, when you see pictures of Shiva, you will find there's 3 stripes on his throat. That's the effect of him swallowing the poison. The divine Maheshwara held it in his throat, and it is said that from the time he is called Nilakanta, blue-throated. Seeing all those wondrous things, the Asuras were filled with despair, and got themselves prepared for entering into hostilities with the gods for the possession of Lakshmi and Amrita. Thereupon, Narayana called his bewitching Maya, elusive power, to his aid, and assuming the form of an enticing female, coquetted with the Danavas. The Danavas and the Daityas, charmed with her exquisite beauty and grace, lost their reason of animosity, placed the Amrita in the hands of that fair damsel. That's the end of 18. Moving on to 19. Sauti said, then the Daityas and Danaus, equipped with first-class armors and various weapons, attacked the gods. War. In the meantime, the valiant Lord Vishnu, in the form of an enchantress, accompanied by Nara, deceived the mighty Danavas and took away the Amrita from their hands. And all the gods of that time of great fright drank the Amrita with delight, receiving it from Vishnu. And while the gods were partaking of it, after which they had so much hankered, a Danava named Rahu was also drinking it among them in the guise of a god. And when the Amrita had reached Rahu's throat only, Surya and Soma recognized him and intimated the fact to the gods. An identifying potion, Potion of identify. Yeah. And Narayana instantly cut off with his discus the well-adorned head of Danava, who was drinking the Amrita without permission. And the huge head of the Danava, cut off by the discus and resembling a mountain peak, then rose up to the sky and began to utter dreadful cries. And the Danava's headless trunk, falling upon the ground and rolling thereon, made the earth tremble with her mountains, forests and islands. And from that time there is a long-standing quarrel between Rahu's head and Surya and Soma. And to this day it swallows Surya and Soma. They're talking about solar and lunar eclipses here. That's what it says between brackets. So Soma is linked to the moon, and Surya is linked to the sun. Then Narayana, quitting his enchanting female form and hurling many terrible weapons at the Danavas, made them tremble. And thus on the shores of the saltwater sea commenced the dreadful battle of the gods and the Asuras. And sharp-pointed javelins and lances and various weapons by thousands began to be discharged on all sides. And mangled with the discus and wounded by swords, darts and maces, the Asuras in large numbers vomited blood and lay prostrate on the earth. Right? Gringo. If you have problem with what's being on the radio, I told you last week. You want to hear something else? Send me an email. If I get enough complaints, I will drop this subject. Alright? Solvinur2@yahoo.com. SOLVINUR2@yahoo.com. Alright? I don't decide especially what's on the radio. You guys decide. It's your radio. You decide what's on. Alright? I've decided to read you from this, so you will be able to distinguish where exactly this whole new age is coming from. To warn you against indoctrination, against mind control. That's why I'm doing this. This is where it's coming from, all of it. They knew how humans worked thousands of years ago. Many thousands of years ago. Humans have been studied for ages. Yes, Dan, yahoo.com. Solvinur2@yahoo.com. That's my email. If you want to change the subject, write me an email. Alright, where were we? And mangled with the discus and wounded with swords, darts and maces, the Asuras in large numbers vomited blood and lay prostrate on the earth. Cut off from the trunks with sharp double-edged swords, heads adorned with bright gold fell continually on the field of battle. Yeah. There's lots of talk of war, isn't there? Their bodies drenched in gore, the great Asura lay dead everywhere. It seemed as if red-dyed mountain peaks lay scattered all around. And when the sun rose in his splendor, thousands of warriors struck one another with weapons, and cries of distress were heard everywhere. The warriors, fighting at a distance from one another, brought one another down by sharp iron missiles. And those fighting at close quarters slew each other with blows of their fist, and the air was filled with shrieks of distress. Everywhere were heard the alarming sounds: cut, pierce, at them, hurl down, advance. And when the battle was raging fiercely, Nara and Narayana entered the field. And Narayana, seeing the celestial bow in the hands of Nara, called to mind his own weapon, the Danava-destroying discus. And lo, the discus, Sudarsana, destroyer of enemies, like to Agni in effulgence and dreadful in battle, came from the sky as soon as thought of. And when it came, Narayana, of fierce energy, possessing arms like the trunk of an elephant, hurled with great force that weapon of extraordinary luster, effulgent as blazing fire, dreadful and capable of destroying hostile towns. And that discus, blazing like the fire that consumes all things at the end of Yuga, hurled with force from the hands of Narayana, and falling constantly everywhere, destroyed the Daityas and the Danavas by thousands. Sometimes it blazed like fire and consumed them all. Sometimes it struck them down as it coursed through the sky. And sometimes, falling on the earth, it drank their lifeblood like a goblin. Goblin. Also come back in games, right? On the other hand, the Danavas, white as the clouds from which the rain has dropped, possessing great strength and bold hearts, ascended the sky by hurling down thousands of mountains, continually harassed the gods. And those dreadful mountains, like masses of clouds, with their trees and flat tops, falling from the sky, collided with one another and produced a tremendous roar. Strange story, right? They're saying that the mountains that we have today on Earth are the leftovers of war, falling from the sky. And when thousands of warriors shouted with intermissions in the field of battle, and mountains with the woods thereon began to fall around, the earth with her forests trembled. Then the divine Nara appeared at the scene of the dreadful conflict between the Asuras and the Ganas. Ganas are followers of Rudra, and Rudra is another name of Shiva. And reducing to dust those rocks by means of his gold-headed arrows, he covered the heavens with dust. Thus, discomfited by the gods, and seeing the furious discus scoring the fields of heaven like a blazing flame, the mighty Danavas entered the bowels of the earth, while others plunged into the sea of salt waters. And having gained the victory, the gods offered due respect to Mandara and placed him again on his own base. And the nectar-bearing gods made the heavens resound with their shouts and went to their abodes. And the gods, on returning to the heavens, rejoiced greatly. And Indra and the other deities made over to Narayana, the vessel of Amrita, for careful keeping. That's the end of section 19. Next section. Yeah, strange, huh? Ansibol. I don't know what to make of that either. Gold-headed arrows that put the dust into heaven? What the heck is that? All it reminds me of is like chemtrails, you know? Or maybe volcanoes. I don't know. Sauti said, "Thus have I recited to you the whole story of how Amrita was churned out of the ocean, and the occasion on which the horse Uchai Shavaras, something like that, of great beauty and incomparable prowess was obtained." Yeah, Dan, I don't know exactly in which time this was done. Yeah, and Sebol, it could also refer to nuclear war. You know, you also get that dust in the air, right? I don't know, guys. But then, you say it dates back to the last ice age. I think it goes even further back than that, though. You know? I think it's older than that. This story. It was this horse about... It was this horse about which Kudra asked Vinata, saying, "Tell me, amiable sister, without taking much time, of what color Uchai Sharavas is?" That's the horse, right? And Vinata answered, "That prince of steed is certainly white. What dost thou think, sister? Say thou what is its color? Let us lay a wager upon it." Kudra replied then, "O thou of sweet smiles, I think that the horse is black in its tail. Beauteous one, bet with me, that she who loses will become the other's slave." Wow. So Nati continued. Thus wagering with each other about menial service as a slave, the sisters went home, and resolved to satisfy themselves by examining the horse the next day. And Kadru, bent upon practicing and deception, ordered her 1,000 sons to transform themselves into black hair and speedily cover the horse's tail in order that she might not become a slave. But her sons, the snakes, refusing to do her bidding, she cursed them, saying, during the snake sacrifice of the wise king Janamejaya of the Pandava race, Agni shall consume you all. Yeah, Vince, little bit off topic here. Vincent says, turns out I have used the trivium at least in part before I even knew what it was. Yes, Vince, that goes for everybody, because the trivium is a reflection of how your mind works. That is why it is being used as a weapon against us, by presenting us with an education that places logic before grammar. You see, that's why it's important to get that order straight. It's grammar, logic, rhetoric, not in any other way. Alright? And every human being uses it in this manner automatically, naturally. Alright, so everybody uses a trivium, you see? You got that right, Vince. Alright. Where were we? And the grandsire, that's Brahman, himself, heard this exceedingly cruel curse pronounced by Kudra, impelled by the fates, and seeing that the snakes had multiplied exceedingly, the grandsire, moved by kind consideration for his creatures, sanctioned with all the gods this curse of Kudra. Indeed, as the snakes were of virulent poison, great prowess and excess of strength, and ever bent on biting other creatures, their mother's conduct towards them, those persecutors of all creatures, was very proper for the good of all creatures. Fate always inflicts punishment of death on those who seek the death of other creatures. Yeah, right. So why isn't Obama dead? Alright? Someday, when the word karma comes up, I will debunk that. The whole quote-unquote philosophy. You know? Says here, fate always inflicts punishment of death on those who seek the death of other creatures. Then why is Obama still alive? Why is Bush still alive? Why are all those military still alive? You know? It doesn't work like that. In this world, the more cruel you are, the further you get, usually. The gods, having exchanged such sentiments with one another, supported Kudra's action and went away. And Brahman, calling Kashyapa to him, spake unto him these words. Isn't that supposed to be spoke? O thou pure one, who overcomes all enemies, these snakes begotten by you, who are virulent poison in huge bodies, and ever intent on biting other creatures, have been cursed by their mother. O son, do not grieve for it in the least. The destruction of the snakes in that sacrifice has indeed been ordained long ago. Saying this, the divine creator of the universe comforted Kashyapa and imparted to that illustrious one the knowledge of neutralizing poison. And thus ends the section 20. Next is 21. Sauti said, Then when the night had passed away, and the sun had risen in the morning, O thou, whose wealth is asceticism, the two sisters, Kadru and Vinata, having laid a wager about slavery, went with haste and impatience to view the steed Uchai Sharavas from a near point. On their way they saw the ocean, that receptacle of waters, vast and deep, rolling and tremendously roaring, full of fishes large enough to swallow the whale, and abounding with huge macaras and creatures of various forms by thousands, and rendered inaccessible by the presence of other terrible monster-shaped, dark and fierce aquatic animals, abounding with tortoises and crocodiles, the mine of all kinds of gems, the home of Varuna, that's the water god, the excellent and beautiful residence of the Nagas, snakes, the lord of all rivers, the abode of the subterranean fire, the friend or asylum of the Asuras, the terror of all creatures, the grand reservoir of water and ever immutable. It is wholly beneficial to the gods, and it is the great source of nectar, without limits, inconceivable, sacred, and highly wonderful. It is dark, terrible, with the sound of aquatic creatures, tremendously roaring, and full of deep whirlpools. It is an object of terror to all creatures, moved by the winds blowing from its shores and having high, agitated and disturbed. Good morning, Jules. Yeah, it looks like I put everyone to sleep reading this, right? Yeah. But I told them to send me an email if they don't want to hear this anymore, so haven't received any yet. It seems to dance everywhere with uplifted hands represented by its surges. Full of swelling billows caused by the waxing and waning of the moon, the parent of Vasudeva's great conch called Panchavanya, the great mine of gems, its waters were formerly disturbed in consequence of the agitation caused within them by the Lord Govinda of immeasurable prowess, when he had assumed the form of a wild boar for raising the submerged earth. Alright, there is a story that, I told you maybe 2 weeks ago, about the mythological story of the universe, that the bottom half of the universe is filled with water. Alright, and so somehow, I don't know how yet, maybe we'll get to that at some later point here, the Earth fell into it. It lost its orbit around the sun and fell down, or something like that. I don't know what to make of that, guys, but that's the story anyway. And then the Almighty One, God, Vishnu, Krishna, Govinda, however you want to call him, took on the form of a boar and lifted the earth from the ocean, which is at the bottom of the universe, and put the earth back in its orbit. Strange stories, right? I don't know what to make of that, guys, but it could be that these are just stories of celestial incidents. Alright? Maybe in Indian mythology, this is where the sea comes from. You know, we were dipped into water and put up again. I don't know. Its bottom lower than the natural regions. The vow observing regenerate Rishi Atri could not fathom after 100 years. After, brackets open, toiling for 100 years. It becomes the bed of the lotus-naveled Vishnu, when, at the termination of every yuga, that deity of immeasurable powers enjoys Yoga Nidra. Blah, blah. The deep sleep under the spell of spiritual meditation. It is the refuge of Mainika fearful of falling thunder, and the retreat of the Asuras overcome in fierce encounters. It offers water as sacrificial butter to the blazing fire issuing from the mouth of Varava, the ocean mare, another horse. It is fathomless and without limits, vast and immeasurable, and the Lord of rivers. And they saw that unto it rushed mighty rivers by thousands, with proud gait, like amorous competitors, and eager for meeting it, forestalling the others. And they saw that it was always full, and always dancing in its waves. And they saw that it was deep and abounding with fierce whales and makaras. And it resounded constantly with terrible sounds of aquatic creatures. And they saw that it was vast and wide as the expanse of space, unfathomable and limitless, and the great reservoir of water. Thus ends section 22. Section 22. So previous was 21. Sauti said, the Nagas after consultation arrived at the conclusion that they should do their mother's bidding, for if she failed in obtaining her desire, she might withdraw her affection and burn them all. If, on the other hand, she were graciously inclined, she might free them from her curse. They said, we will certainly render the horse's tail black. And it was said that they then went and became hairs in the horse's tail. Now the two co-wives had laid the wager, and having laid the wager, O best of Brahmanas, the two sisters Kadru and Vinata, the daughters of Daksha, proceeded in great delight along the sky to see the other side of the ocean. And on their way they saw the ocean, that receptacle of waters, incapable of being easily disturbed, mightily agitated all of a sudden by the wind, and roaring tremendously, abounding with fishes capable of swallowing the whale and full of makaras. It's a bit of a repeat of 21, right? Containing also creatures of diverse forms counted by thousands, frightful from the presence of horrible monsters, inaccessible, deep and terrible, the mine of all kinds of gems, the home of Varuna, water god, the wonderful inhabitants of the Nagas, the lord of rivers, the abode of the subterranean fire, the residence of the Asuras and many dreadful creatures, the reservoir of water not subject to decay, aromatic and wonderful, the great source of Amrita of the celestials, immeasurable and inconceivable, containing waters that are holy, filled with the brim by many thousands of great rivers, dancing as it were in waves. Such was the ocean, full of rolling waves, vast as the expanse of the sky, deep, of body lighted with the flames of subterranean fire, and roaring, with which the sisters quickly passed over. That's the end of 22. A few more minutes left, guys. Sauti said, having crossed the ocean, Kudra, of swift speed, accompanied by Vinata, soon alighted near the horse. They then both They then both beheld that foremost of steed of great speed, with body white as the rays of the moon, but having black hairs in the tail. And observing many black hairs in the tail, Kudra put Vinata, who was deeply dejected, into slavery. And thus Vinata, having lost the wager, entered into a state of slavery and became exceedingly sorry. In the meantime, when his time came, burst forth from the egg without the help of his mother, Garuda of great splendor, enkindling all the points of the universe. That mighty being endued with strength. That bird capable of assuming at will any form, of going at will anywhere, and of calling to his aid at will any measure of energy. Sounds like space, doesn't it? Effulgent like a heap of fire, he shone terribly, of luster equal to that of the fire at the end of the Yuga. His eyes were bright like the lightning flash, and soon after birth, that bird grew in size and, increasing his body, ascended the skies. Fierce and vehemently roaring, he looked as terrible as second ocean fire. And all the deities, seeing him, sought the protection of Vibhavasu, that's Agni. And they bowed down to that deity of manifold forms, seated on his seat, and spoke unto him these words: O Agni, extend not thy body, wilt thou consume us? Lo, this huge heap of thy flames is spreading wide. And Agni replied, O ye persecutors of the Asuras, it is not as ye imagine. This is Garuda of great strength and equal to me in splendor, endued with great energy, and born to promote the joy of Vinata. Even the sight of this heap of effulgence has caused this delusion in you. He is the mighty son of Kashyapa, the destroyer of the Nagas, engaged in the well-being of the gods, and the foe of the Daitas and the Rakshasas. Be not afraid of it in the least. Come with me and see. Alright. That's it for this week, guys. It's 58. Say thanks to everybody in the chat. Dal, Dan, JJ, Joe, Jules, Vince, Deep, Gio, Gringo, and Tuanons. Thanks for listening to this Solvinur event. Send me an email at solvinur2@yahoo.com. That's SOLVINUR, the number 2 @yahoo.com. If you have any topics that you want discussed. So, take care, everybody. See you guys next week. Bye.
Opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
I think a new world order is emerging.
An inside job? How dare you? How dare you?
To create, so to say, mass-produced models of human beings arranged in some kind of a scientific caste system.